Welcome to this week's or whatever installment of whatever the heck this is.
Keep your brain all in one piece.
Part 7, right? Or 8?
7, I think? I don't know, whatever. It's time where we lose count.
I think it's 7.
Yeah, I think it's 7.
I haven't even published, as of the making of this video, the last 2 recordings that we've done. So, whatever. Anyways, today's a real kind of messed up day for both of David and I. And so, we've been using YouTube here as an outlet for us to try and promote our emotional well-being. But I had a really significant memory last night. And if you guys have been watching my previous videos, which I don't really know if you are, but I have a lot of memories, and some are as being space nuggets, right, which is a code word for the NAZI. A lot of memories of just being a regular citizen of the breakaway. And then I have one really long stint where I am a part of the American force fighting in the war. And then I have another one, what I call the MIC, Military Industrial Complex, Phase 1. So the really long one I just mentioned is really Phase 2. But this memory was from Phase 1. And I know that it's very early in the American process. But what's interesting about this one is I actually, like all the tech that's talked about, the invisibility, the mind erasing, memory erasing, telepathy, all of that stuff, it actually all exists in that, which is pretty phenomenal. But this, what was really significant about it is I'm actually in a part of a elite military force, but I think I'm a teacher, and I'm teaching a group of kids who are deaf and dumb. And I'm not deaf and dumb, but I'm teaching the kids who are deaf and dumb. And what's interesting about it is I'm not actually like a qualified teacher. I'm not a specialist or anything like that. I actually think of myself more as a babysitter slash I don't know, kind of daycare. And I think I'm taking care of children who are part of the military force. That children who have parents who are in this military force, but I've never met the parents. But I just it's kind of weird. It's like for whatever reason I took it all at face value. And a whole weird aspect to all of this is that you think that the thoughts in your own mind are that your thoughts, but no, they could not be your thoughts at all. And so what's interesting is now I realize that this whole thing was, I think I was essentially training these kids to be telepaths. And I think that they probably manipulated the kids into stealing their hearing and their voice, literally, to force them to learn how to communicate through other means, through emotions, through the empath, to develop the empathy and feeling what other people are feeling, and to also try and develop telepathy. And I do remember I had telepathic communications with a few of them where I could actually communicate with them voice to voice. Should we leave?
No, we're fine.
And
unless he doesn't want us here.
which maybe he doesn't.
We got the police, but they're fine. They'll let us do our thing.
Oh.
My sweetheart. Yeah.
So anyway, and there's just a lot of weird, crazy stuff that's coming through this. Among them, my blood being taken and even skimmed. I don't know what else to call it, but it's kind of like a dialysis process where I believe that they were taking my blood for to mine it for whatever chemicals enables the telepathy. We're doing something different here. We're actually recording on my laptop, and I don't know, it seems blurry and stuff. It's just like the video quality isn't as good. I like the screenshot better though. Anyway, but there's all sorts of weird stuff coming through with this. Among them, a soldier who could morph into like a snake, and uh, just how much I was duped and how much I fell for it. I don't know. It's just crazy. Um, it's strange. My uniform was like this, like really thick, kind of plastic. It's really really weird. But I definitely early 1900s, maybe even late 1800s. But that doesn't feel right to me. And I do believe it was in the United States. That this desert area was in the United States. But once again, it was a building in a sand building. So it doesn't feel like it was an ancient builder race type building, but yet I don't know. I do know that the military has built built buildings out of mountains or whatever. So maybe they did that, but I don't know. It feels to me like it was actually something that was already pre-developed. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many emotions that come through with this because once again I remember the people. It's just like remember the kids. Um, I remember a lot of the military people, and the soldiers too, which is really interesting. And that's one thing I've been like really having a hard time with lately is, uh, in addition to the MIC one phase that I just remembered last night, I've been remembering a lot about the generals during my MIC2 phase and how they just saw me as a tool that could do certain things. It's really hard to be looked at like that, especially when it's not your choice. It doesn't matter how dire the situation is. It doesn't make sense to fight for freedom by stealing another person's freedom. I mean, how the hell does that work? I wonder if I can improve the video quality of this. It's kind of messed up. But yeah, I just been rambling on here.
I was just gonna mention the date. That's all I really have to say.
Oh, the date? What is today?
It's 5/14/2020.
It's the 14th
Yeah.
of May.
Yep.
Wow.
I think we're seeing a lot of people are really freaked out about this virus thing, and other people are kind of easing off. It's kind of a
Yeah.
it's kind of starting to wear things down. I think people are becoming very worn down and
Totally.
kind of going stir crazy.
Mhm.
So we'll see where things go with that.
Mhm.
Can drive you nuts. Um,
Yeah.
I think not just being able to not go somewhere, but just that you're told you can't go somewhere. I mean, you don't even want to go anywhere,
Right.
but you have that option.
Mhm.
It's psychological warfare.
Yeah. Like being on Mars. Mhm.
Holy,
Just,
yeah,
just,
it's
just joking. Sort of not
they're
actually.
not. Didn't you say that? I was asking you where this area was at that was possibly New Mexico? No, where did you say?
I was thinking Utah.
Oh, that's
It
right.
feels like Utah,
Yeah.
kind of Utah, but actually out in the absolute middle of nowhere. There's nothing around.
Hmm.
And once again, the base had a bar, so it's like old standard, give the troops the drink and kind of let them self medicate, kind
Excuse
of
me.
BS.
Yeah.
Alcohol makes you so messed up, especially like consistent and high usage. It pickles you.
Man, oh man, this is depressing. But
Yeah, you
we're
don't need that when you're,
no.
especially
Oh,
when you're fighting wars and you're dealing with horrible things.
some people try to use it,
Well, I mean, I'm not being judgmental or anything.
but
I'm
sure.
actually speaking from experience. I mean, uh, you know, the person I am today in this splice, before remembering, I was a diehard Mormon, by the way. Yeah, like let's add some fun to this. And with all of these memories, I have since actually resigned from the church, by the way. So like I'm like it's not just like a inactive thing. It's like a real hard tearing their separation. Um, but when I mean,
Well,
especially in the
wait, wait, but
MIC 2 phase program, I mean, I remember smoking and drinking and drugs and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I've remembered how it feels to take cocaine, you know? And I'm like, I thought I was Molly Mormon. That's where this
I was
stuff
just
gets
gonna
real
throw in
fun.
a funny statistic that kind of fits in right there.
Yeah.
We're looking at where um, crime rate is the highest throughout the United States,
Hmm.
and in what state did you say?
Oh, Utah, number one.
Isn't that
Salt Lake City for property crime.
what the heck?
Not violent crime, but property crime. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I didn't
It's like, oh, good old Mormontown,
like
USA.
breaking each other's homes.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of the tithing thing. Just kidding. All right, don't attack me on that. All
Mhm.
right, all right, all right.
That's a good one.
Let it go. Let it go. Release. So,
Yeah.
anyways, Leia's having her fun, panting away. She was laying down there for a minute, relaxing. So, yeah, I don't have many words today, which is okay.
Part of me like
Because
wants
today's a pretty
want.
messed up day.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is it. Everything isn't fun and games. I can tell you that
No.
at all. It's
It's hard because some days it's like you get really depressed and your energy gets real low and you almost can't do anything. You know. I mean, I've had a lot of days where I can't do anything. But today it's been like anxiety and it's been this total huge massive buildup of energy and just pain, lots of pain, lots of emotional pain. And so like
okay.
in times like this, it's like there's a
Yeah,
million and one different things to
yeah,
do to help.
yeah.
And I have I mean, from playing music, I talk to David a lot. I'm talking to you guys now. Um,
We try to have daily dumps, disclosures,
yeah,
just to empty.
yeah. Because
And we
even
haven't that much.
well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I did have a few words in there, but
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
oh, just that helped so much
Mm,
um, for Tia, but and me. I mean, for both of us, because it's affecting both of us. And again, I'm kind of keeping my thing out of it,
well, I
but
told
trust me,
him maybe it's time for you to share.
I'm saying I'm having. I'll share this. I'm have the same when you're with someone that you love and they're going through something. You share it. It's it's hard.
Hmm.
So that's we've
Yeah.
been saying that from the beginning.
Yeah.
So not to sometimes we're lighthearted a little bit about
Well,
or try to be like not the subject, just ourselves. But today's a really it's a bad day.
I've been trying really hard to keep positive. Like I
Yeah.
can't tell you how
Well,
hard.
Tia's come around major,
I've
and just to hold it together, and even to help me when I'm more the one having my thing. But it's powerful, and
hmm
so but I'm glad you're like giving advice. The music, but I think the best thing though, I, not okay, I don't want to say it's the best thing, but
hmm
is to do your own video and then just erase it or something, but to dump it out
Yeah.
or find someone, a confidant that you can talk with
Yeah.
and do a video and then
Well, it's
delete it.
I mean I journal a lot. And
Well,
actually
that's what I'm
I
saying.
forget the dude's name, but he's some psychologist dude uh who I bought some stuff about anger management and anger processing and stuff like that. This is a long time ago because I've been dealing with this stuff. I've been dealing with the after effects of it for a long time without really knowing, why I'm so emotional. I mean, I'm already an emotional person, right? But why I would get triggered so easily. And so my whole life I've been trying to find internal balance, which is probably why I do all of the different things that I do. I try really hard at it. And William Defoe, I think is his name. But one of the journaling methods that he talks about is what he calls the swamp dump, where you just write down all the horrible things you're thinking. You just get it all out, and then you just throw it away. And
Does he have the same name?
I,
Who knows? It
I,
might be
I
more
could
than
be
one.
totally getting that totally
Yeah.
wrong. I
Or
thought that's what he was, and I don't
William
think he was
Dafoe?
an actor.
William
Maybe I'll find the link and I'll put it in the description or something like
Dafoe. All
that.
right.
That's actually what's holding me up right now. I'm publishing things, is writing the freaking descriptions for these videos. So I'm actually thinking that I'm just going to start publishing stuff so long as it has a title, and then I'll write the description later. Because things are getting stuck in the pipeline here, and the whole point of this is to be helpful and beneficial for myself, for people who are interested in this, for people who are struggling with the ideas of it. I mean, it's interesting, to talk about our favorite letter of the alphabet, the 17th letter of the alphabet. There's a lot of people who are all freaked out right now about what's going on and what what this virus is really a cover for, and what's going on behind the scenes, and blah blah blah, and are people being arrested and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of anxiety about this stuff, and I don't blame people at all for that. Oh my goodness. I
Well,
mean,
they're shoveling it like it's going out of style. I mean,
what do you mean?
the scare tactics, the
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
The,
because
the scare tactics,
you
but
could take half a truth and then run it up the flagpole on something. Yeah, there's a virus, but there's so many other angles. But why did they do this years ago? With other people, other presidents, other
oh, you mean like all the crazy stuff that Trump is going through?
not just him. I'm just saying that they this is something that people could have been wearing masks years ago
Mm-hmm.
because of different viruses and things that have come through and run the gamut. And so I it's it was almost a decision made that this is the time to scare the living crap out of everybody and to totally freak them out.
I think
And
this is something that they've been trying to plan for a long
well, that's what I'm
time.
saying. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. But so it could have been with something else. So when someone's wearing a mask, I go, why weren't you wearing that 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Why
Mm-hmm.
didn't you wear it your whole life? People have been dying of the flu and viruses and different things forever.
Well, one thing
So why now
I
is
have.
what I'm saying. And it's being shoved. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is why now is because it is being pushed. But I'm saying now is not any different. Okay, that's my point.
Mm-hmm.
My brain's okay, finally caught up to what I was trying to
Oh.
say. And that's why I go I don't wear a mask and walk around and I'm not you're gonna get it or you're not. We laughed. You think the virus is out there but it's not in your car when people put their mask down? Or they're or well I guess you think that somebody else has it, you don't want to catch it. It can be anywhere. Some
Mm-hmm.
could cough and maybe that little thing's flying through the air from from who knows where, Mexico or Canada or something, or across across the pond from England. I don't know. Who the hell knows?
Well, there's viruses
That's my
everywhere.
point.
Right? Everywhere.
So either wear it all the time or not. I think I was asking to you today, are people ever going to not wear them or not look at someone as suspicion? in
Mhm.
suspicion of them being the carrier. It's it it's finally happened.
Mhm.
1984 or whatever you want to call it. Things
Mhm.
have shifted. I personally don't think it's going to go back. Where you go into a restaurant, and you're just sitting around, and you're not freaked out, and they're going to keep freaking you out. That's my point. On top of
Mhm.
everything else,
Mhm.
if you're not already someone who already is, most people are. We know that based on our stuff that we do and just the knowledge of people. But man, now it's accelerated. That's what I'm saying. You can take one thing and just accelerate the living hell out of it,
Well, one thing that I do remember, um, be-
turbosize it, turbo it.
because the government is like seriously, massively, badly infiltrated. But there are white hats, there are really good people working in it, and I like to think of myself as one of those people. But who did? But one thing about this whole idea of what's actually occurring right now with the caca and all that is they're pulling shit all the time. I remember about once every 3 or 4 months, there was some massive catastrophe that we were actually going through the process of trying to prevent. That it actually had happened, and we would go back in time because they have time portaling technology. And you go through this long process of actually battling this stuff. So there, there's actually been all sorts of disasters that have actually happened, but we haven't experienced because there are good people in the military who are actually fighting this stuff. And I think that probably the reason why it's happening now is because they probably figured out that if they keep trying to light fires in the United States, well, it will be stopped. That the elite force that does have the ability, does have these technologies to stop this stuff, is that good, and they actually are stopping it. So they had to start it somewhere else in the world, and try and do a
Well,
domino ripple effect.
it's perfect.
Hmm.
Whatever it is,
Hmm.
we could say going to the trying to get people vaccinated. The global vaccination.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, do whatever you think is right.
Yeah.
I'll play the other one.
Yeah, I mean,
Come on.
this is my opinion. I'm nobody.
Yeah.
But
Oh hell no.
but yeah,
That's
it's
gonna be that could be something. Well, that will be something
mhm.
because first, and that's what I'm saying is you got people just they're already schizoid, and then now you got them just freaked out of their minds
Mhm. Yeah.
about a world. It's really it's bad news.
Yeah.
It's bad
It,
news. I mean, you're like running past someone, you know,
mhm.
to go get your whatever, your takeout. It's
Mhm.
crazy. It's so insane. And I mean, talk about knocking the love out of, there wasn't any already, but now you really knock it out.
Yeah.
There was like half a
Mhm.
breath of compassion or anything for anyone. Man, now you're
Mhm.
just looked at as just a walking,
Cesspool.
yeah.
We're
What's
all
what's the word I
cesspools.
was thinking? Where you're a carrier.
Right.
I always know that word. And I don't know.
Contaminated
No,
or
no, it's the vector.
oh yeah, the
You're just a
vector. You're
vector.
a
You're a
vector.
walking vector.
Oh, that's
A vector is a thing that carries the virus, like mice carry a hantavirus, field deer mice or something.
funny. Mhm.
So yeah, they're called
Yeah.
a vector. So it has to
Yeah.
ride because the virus can't live on its own. It has to live on something. It's a parasite, and so that's what everybody's looked at now, as if
Yeah.
you were
Mhm.
already the world wasn't already cold and cruel and
Right.
stupid and with their faces in the stupid phones and brain dead. They don't know what even country they live in or who the first president. They don't know anything. Just insane. Now you're forget all that. This is a new phase.
I was asking this guy where we got food earlier today. I said, "Hey, so do you think it's all a sham?" He goes, "What? What? What is a sham?" I'm pointing at the table where they have this notice about the virus, and staying 6 feet away and don't touch the tables and all this stuff. And I said, not even 1,000 people have died in here in Washington State. And he's like, what? You know? So more people have actually died of the flu. Anyway.
So what else?
Oh,
Unleash now.
yeah. I mean, we could talk more about like how to cope. And we're talking about all this weird stuff, about the caca and the sex trade and the abuses, the crimes against humanity and stuff like that. It's really hard to deal with, um, especially remembering a lot of it. I remember clones, little babies being shipped off for food. I remember horrible stuff. Okay. I guess I'm saving that stuff for now. I don't know to what degree people want to know. Um, Honestly, there will be a time to talk about it because this stuff needs to be brought to light, and it needs to be, if we really want to try and help ourselves get out of this, we have to know what's occurring because you can't solve a problem unless you know what the problem is. And you can't solve a problem unless you take responsibility for it. So, and there are a lot of different ways that every single person can help. And I'm a firm believer that every person is needed to stop this. But there are all sorts of different ways and avenues that we need help in. And part of that is just being aware of it. So even if you're willing to look underneath the rug, that's significant. And there's people who need to be able to help communicate what's happening to those who are unaware. Those, because we were talking about like people don't really understand that there's a war that's being waged against us. People think that a lot of what's occurring, all the poisons in our foods from just pesticides to MSG to blah 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 blah, to the medical industry and how caustic that is, um, to politics and how divisive, how separating it is, and combative it is. We think that this is all just human life. You know, we don't realize that all of these are war tactics and that war is being waged against us. And so if you start looking at things like, oh, it's just greed, it's just selfishness, even though it might actually be that to a certain degree, you're missing the boat. And you're not going to see the forest through the trees unless you see what's right in front of your eyes clearly. So that's a huge problem. The fact that people don't understand that the reasoning behind all of this. But but yeah, I mean, even if you learn how to cope, with how bad this stuff is. Um, I mean, you're carrying the water for people. Even if you are somebody who's willing to think positively about the future. I've remembered so much weird timeline type stuff where this is going to sound real strange, but like every person is actually in their own timeline, which I know that sounds weird, but and timelines are created based on what's in the minds of people. Um, that futures are actually created based on what potentials in people's minds. So if you're willing to be an anchor for a positive future and to imagine freedom, and to imagine us getting out of this mess and solving problems, that's a really good thing. It really is. So anyway, um, it's almost a half hour. It's a lot of talking. You feel better?
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I mean,
I feel better.
yeah, yeah. I think this is
I
really
feel a lot
important.
better,
It's super
actually.
important.
It's
You
like
know,
pretty dark here.
yeah, the weather's been it got really hot, and then
It's almost 9 o'clock.
it's been yeah, it's like yeah, it's crazy, but really cloudy and bizarre clouds. And the sky was red. That was interesting. I mean, sometimes it's orange, but it was red. But um, things feel different. I mean, for sure. For the last 3 years, maybe 5 years. I don't know, but
Mm.
I mean, that's getting again into the Mandela effect and all those other things. But it's different. Just what I was again going back to this whole virus thing is so many people are so freaked out that it's permeating um, the against nature. It's just and they want that they okay whoever they is, but and that's the whole thing is that I don't even we don't even know we don't know. I mean, to think positive or whatever it is, but it's so powerful that um, right when things were going really well, boom, drop the freaking bomb. What a I mean, there's no coincidence.
Yeah, they're always trying to bring us down.
Yeah, that's I guess my point.
Any progress that we make, they're trying to
Holy
steal or trying to twist. Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at a building here. People can't go in. It's just insane. It's
Hmm.
insane. It's
Hmm.
it's beyond crazy.
Yeah.
And who knows where we're going?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so I guess you do have to create your own mental timeline.
Well, but
And
there's all sorts of weird stuff I could tell you about. Every time you do a jump, you're actually going into a different timeline, and but we're all in our different timeline that's existing, and we're actually mixing timelines. And I think part of how they're actually able to control us is they're actually able to disconnect us. So they're actually separating us from each other, which means that we are actually living more in our own timelines instead of together as a cohesive force. So literally, the more we connect with one another, we are actually merging timelines. And so the more we can do that, the better. So, I mean, that's just some fun weirdness for you. Um, I mean, by any means, I'm not an expert on
sorry,
this stuff, but I do remember all sorts of really interesting and odd things, and I'm still trying to put it
right
all
on.
together.
Right
But yeah, we're losing daylight here.
on. No, it's
Um,
pretty light. I mean that's what the fuzziness is. It's just a light
yeah,
thing
it's the light.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Well, I just haven't thought on all this is that the old saying it's darkest before the dawn or blah blah blah. Who knows? That this is a whiplash effect that is just necessary. That's another thing. So I always believe
Yeah.
in divine, I guess, divine intervention or just this is the way it's going to go.
Hmm.
There's no other way. This is the
Hmm.
way. Even if there's multiple timelines separate, it's still those are set. It's a set course,
Yeah.
and it's it's causing other positive things. And I at first I was like I've seen families together and blah blah blah, and I mean there's bad and there's good, but it's definitely jolting, and it's something I've been actually kind of wanting. So, but
Hmm.
so there's the hard part of it, and there's the I guess the good outcome too, and I do believe that. But it's hard when you're in that kind of the hard part, you know. It's like training or something.
Yeah, when you're in the storm, man, you're in the
Yeah,
whirlwind and you're being kicked up and you're.
yeah, you're training and you're halfway through the 10 miles, And you're like, this is hard, but
Yeah.
when it's all over and you're cooling down and you like did it and all that, or you made it through whatever it is,
Hmm.
then you feel amazing. It's like you're
Hmm.
so glad, but during, it's kind of a powerful. I rolled
It
up the windows
is.
because there's a million rabbits where we live.
Oh.
They're little jackrabbits. They're not like fluffy white rabbits. I see the little guy right there, kind of just hanging out.
Mm.
So whatever. Um, Leia goes crazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought on that. Is
Hmm.
that trying to look at the big picture of all of this is what comes out of. anything, any action. There's a reaction.
As much as we are quote unquote victims, where horrible things are happening around us, and
There's other things though.
I
It's
believe
maybe hard to
I
see
believe that
though.
a lot of people on a if you're looking on a spiritual level have agreed to be a part of this because we will be the ones to stop it. So that's what I think of. I think of us as the tip of the spear because the breakaway civilization is actually much larger than Earth. Um, my best memory of it so far is that it's around 50 trillion people. And so,
Trillion?
trillion.
But my okay, so still my point is when we talk about this is kind of a funny word
Yeah.
for the caterpillar in the
Hmm.
cocoon and then it becomes a butterfly.
Yeah.
And the story there's a story about a guy who tried to cut it open to help and the thing died. Is it actually has to push its way through so the fats and proteins are pushed from the body out into the wings and then it can fly or it won't have wings. So this guy thought, oh, I'm gonna help,
Right.
some guy's gonna mess with nature
Hmm.
and
Yeah. No,
and that's what this may be. It's called poupe. Isn't that what it is? P-U-P or something? Is it a French word or
no,
something?
I don't
It
think
could
so.
be. Poupe. Grey poupe. So it's
Oh my
so anyways,
goodness.
T and I've been talking about that. We've been going through poupe for a long time. You're wiggling through like this little hole. It's like amazing, you know. The rabbit's probably going through it. It's just dropping a poupe. But it's humanity needs to look at what's really there's so many things. They're calling it the Great Awakening, and maybe it is because people are not awake.
It's a
And
fucking rude
yeah,
awakening, I can
well,
tell
one
you
of your
that.
dreams was everybody was sleeping. Remember
That's a
that?
really old
That
dream.
dream?
Yeah. Oh
Dude,
yeah,
I
I
don't
remember
care.
that.
Old, oldie but goodie.
That
That
was a
was a
weird
weird.
dream where I
Yeah,
was like seeing all these weird spirits that looked like clowns.
I thought there were faces in
No,
the ground or something. They were
no,
all
there was a
asleep.
lot of like all these weird.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
spirits that looked like clowns. Like you know how like a lot of the Japanese depictions of what spirits look like. It was like
I just
that.
looked up the word for ghost. I
But
forgot what
then
it
there
is.
was this like
Yurei or something.
being
Yurei.
of which
Yurei?
was God, and I kept looking up
Or
and up and
spirit.
up, and I was like flying up. I kept looking for his face, and I couldn't find it. It was really really weird.
But that's it. So, I mean, this is kicking people, everybody in the world. So
Yeah.
it's on a new level as a human race. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Mhm.
We spoke with some buddy who we work with um, in India or somewhere.
Yeah.
She's asking us, "How are you guys doing?" It's like
Mhm.
it's funny that someone there is asking, how we're doing because we're having this common thing.
Yeah.
So
The whole world's dealing with it.
yeah, whole world's dealing with this.
Yeah.
That's something,
Yeah.
So and this is what it's all about, anyways. Is lifting, exalting or the dimensional shift or change or the DNA awakening and all that. So maybe this is part of it. How can I say maybe? It
Oh,
is.
it definitely
No, no, it is. I don't
is.
want to say
It
maybe. That's a
definitely
cop
is.
out. It is. It is.
Oh yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
looking
Mhm.
at the sky. It's so orange.
Mm.
It's been really amazing, um, contrasting colors.
Yeah.
But that weird red the other day, it wasn't orange red. It was this red. It's almost like a hmm, I don't want to say violet.
Mhm.
What was it? It was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So never really seen that color before in the sky. That
Yeah.
was like something new.
Mm.
It was a new thing.
Mhm.
So phew, what's going on, and but there's so many other things cosmically that we're going through, and I kind of brought that up before, I think,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
I think about it every day because we're going through it. It's
Mhm.
affecting us. It's changing our DNA
Yeah.
and changing so many things.
Yeah. It is.
But I think a lot of it it's causing pain too. This painful change.
Is it a birth?
Yeah, of course it is.
It's a
Everything is
birth.
about birth,
Birth is pain.
Phew. Yeah.
But there's just it's hard to think that while we've been trying to live our life and doing good things, building families, building businesses, raising children, that all of this really bad shit's been happening underneath our noses.
Well,
And so that's where the pain's going to be.
that's the potent part. It's super potent.
That like really kind of our emotional mental purity in that way has just been completely unaware that we thought life was just about living, and here it is. We've been just manipulated to such severe degrees.
That's the right word too.
It's been massive manipulation.
Yeah.
So we'll get through it. We'll stick together. We'll get through it. This is definitely a part of it. We need to stick together. We need to think positive and just don't let them bring you down. Find ways to lift yourself up, find people to hold on to. So
That's it. That's
yeah.
about it. All right.
All right, you guys, it's getting super dark here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna say sayonara for tonight, and we'll be back with part 8 another time here in the very near future.
Cool.
Take care of yourself. Bye bye.